Okay. So far we discussed what all the softwares we need. So we are in need of JDK 1.7 and Eclipse Kepler. Both are open source and can be downloaded. So first one need to install Java, and after installing the Java, just extract the Eclipse folder. Then after extracting, you can just launch the Eclipse application. When you launch the Eclipse application, it will ask you to refer the location where your files will be saved, or whatever the projects you're gonna do, they all will be saved. So I'm just browsing a location. Then I can say use this as default in case you're always gonna use the same. And this is what it got launched. So on the left hand side you see something called as a project explorer, and you can do the right click there and select project. Then you can pick up Java project. You see there are different options here. You have a JavaScript project, Java Enterprise Edition project, EJB project, right? And you also have a Java project. So pick the Java project, click on the next. Then again it prompts you to enter the project name. I just gave the project name as Java SC Training. And if you look at this, you have something called use and execution environment. Then you click on the next. And just click on the finish. So there is a message. The kind of project is associated with Java perspective. If you look at this, when I launched Eclipse, it was opened. It got opened in Java EE perspective. That is Java Enterprise Edition perspective. So there are two perspectives here: Java perspective and Java EE perspective. So first we go with Java perspective. The kind of project is associated with Java perspective. In case if you want to develop any web applications or enterprise applications, then you will be working with the Java EE perspective. If you might have observed here, now what got selected is Java perspective. Now we got a source folder here. Now you got a project. The project is labeled as Java SE Training. Then you have a SRC folder. So before we get into the program, let's quickly list out the flavors of Java. As I think you all guys will be aware of the flavors of Java. You got SE, that's your standard edition. Then you have E, Enterprise Edition. Then you have your ME, we call it as Mobile Edition. So this is not our agenda. ME is not our agenda. Our agenda is only the Standard Edition and the Enterprise Edition. And Java is available in many versions. So it all started with JDK 1.1. Now we are into JDK 1.7. So for every version there is a names, right? So we can look at the history of Java over here. So if you look at this, then you see the different releases of Java and along with their names. So when it was released and what it is called as the version and all the stuff. Now, so there is terms called JDK, JRE, JVM. So we're gonna get into them later. So for timing, I'll say JDK stands for your Java Development Kit, Java Runtime Environment. Then you got your Java Virtual Machine. So what each stands for and what is the significance of each, we're going to talk about that later. But these are the most popular terms when we are working on a standalone application. So let's get back to the programming part again. So you have a project and you have a SRC folder, the source folder. Now, it's not good to write everything as a part of a source folder. It is always good to classify your source files. It is always good to classify your source files. So I would like to create a class. So let's say the class name is Hello World. But I would like to group this class. So I'll just make it as intro, or let's make it as day.1. So this is called as a package. So when you try to group your source files, or when you try to group your classes, right, and the group is referred as package, and there is a naming convention for the package. The naming convention for the package is it will be in lowercase letters and every word is separated by a dot. So this is the convention we follow. Every word in the package is in lowercase letters and it is separated by a dot. Then when you look at the class name, every word in the class name starts with a capital letter. Every word in the class name starts with a capital letter. Then you see a lot of other stuff like modifier, superclass, interface, which method stuff would you like to create. There's a lot of other stuff. We're going to discuss that later. For time being, I'm selecting a checkbox called public static void main. And this is the entry point to any application. You write thousands and thousands lines of code, or you may write thousands and thousands of Java classes, but every application will get started with the main function. So this is like your entry point, or you can say this is like your start button of your application. This is from where the program execution starts. Right? Why from the program execution always starts from here? Because as I said earlier, there is something called three things like JDK, JRE and JVM. Your JVM recognizes only this main method. So when you try to run the application, JVM starts searching for this main method. The moment it finds this main method, it invokes this main method and your program execution starts. Now within this, what you want to do, since this is our very first program, so there is a shortcut here. You just need to say SYSO and a control space bar if you are using a Windows or if you are using a Ubuntu. I mean any Unix version operating system, or if you are using a Windows, then this SYSO and a control space bar will give you this option. Then within the double quotes, you can just have your message. Simple. Okay. Now your program is ready. But how do you run this? How do you run this? I said earlier, your JVM is going to call the main method. JVM is going to call the main method, but your JVM will not automatically call the main method. Somebody need to initiate it. Somebody need to initiate it. So it's very simple. If you look at this, if you look at the toolbar over here, after the menu bar, you have the option called Run. Click. Then you see something on the bottom of the page. There is a tab called Console. Now you got a message there. That is one option. There are different ways of executing. You can do the other way. Right click on the file name. Run as. It's not your enterprise application, or it's not your web application where you run it on a server. It's your standalone application. So you can run it as a Java application. So it's very simple. So you have two ways to execute a Java program. That is a standalone Java program. The first option is in the toolbar, you see a run button. So run button is going to execute the program which is active. Otherwise, you can right click on the file and say run as Java application. Yeah. So any questions before I move further? Or are these things are very simple for you? Can I skip these things and move further? Yeah.
Arun, is there any way I can record whatever you're training right now?
I'm doing that. So I'll be sharing the file after
Okay.
the session is done.
Okay, and this is going great. I mean, this is how we want it to go. Don't rush up to the complicated stuff. So basics are good.
Okay, fine. All right.
Okay.
Okay. So we have seen a very simple hello world program. Then what next after this? So next thing I would like to do is I have just demonstrated how do I print a message on the console. But what exactly is this? What is system? What is out? And what is println? So why is this happening? What's a very big one? So it's simple, right? If you see println is like a action. Println is like a action. So what is the action here? It's printing the message on the console. Then why it is, what is the significance of system.out? So again, it's too early to talk about system.out, and why system.out.println, that we will come back to it later. So what next is, I just demonstrated how do we print a message. Then we'll be demonstrating how do I read something. How do I accept input from the user? How do I accept input from the user? So I'm creating another class in the same package. Whatever you call it as. So every word in the class name always starts with a capital letter. Or read input. Pick a main method. So you just need to prompt what you want. You need to prompt the user to enter something. So as I said earlier, CISO control space bar, enter your name. So you are prompting someone to enter the name, but whatever you enter here, it's not allowing you to enter. So I'm trying to enter on the console, but it's not letting me. So for this, you need to make use of a built-in API, or you can say, what is API? API is nothing but the classes which are not written by us. They come with JDK. Now what is the class name? Read input. Who is defining this class? Me. What is the class name? Hello world. Who is defining the class? Me. Similarly, there are some classes which are already defined and they come with JDK. That is, when in the beginning I listed down that first we need to have Java installed. So I'm installing some Java software. When I install, I get some set of classes which are already defined. So I'm going to make use of those classes and we call them as API. We call them as API. So how do we look at that? So it's very simple again. Just open your the search engine and just say Java SE, which version you want, 6 API or 7 API, you can say. Then you can just click the first one, the way you did for the first one. When I did here, Java Wikipedia, then you got it here. In the same way, just say Java SE6 API, then you look, it takes you to the website of your Oracle. Then this is very, very important. Right? This particular page plays a very significant role in the life of the Java developers. So the topmost left hand side, if you see the panel or whatever you call it as, you see the list of all the packages. Now what is package? Package is it's like a grouping of the classes. In order to group, there should be a reason. Now if you look at the programs what I am developing, what was the package name? It's day.1. So there is a reason for grouping this. I want to list all the programs which I did on day 1. I want to list all the programs which I did on day 2. So there is some thinking beyond it while grouping. So here the reason behind the grouping is what? I want to see all the files which I did on day 1. I want to see all the files which I did on day 2. Similarly, when these guys has grouped those classes, there may be a logical reason behind it. So they have their own reason. You will understand them. What is the reason behind grouping them? So they put them into the packages. So if you look at this, most of the packages are starting with Java dot. Then when you go down, your packages are starting with Java X. So why Java dot and why Java X? So mostly all the things which are only useful in the standard edition, then you will see them as Java dot, and whatever you see as Java X, they are also accessible or they are also in use with the Java Enterprise edition. So you will be learning them soon. So there are mostly your packages starts with Java dot or Java X. So it doesn't mean that all your Java classes will start with a package called Java and Java X. Sometimes your package names also starts with org dot, or sometimes they also start with com dot. So you're gonna see them soon too. So here you see the list of packages, and I picked one of the package java.lang. I picked the package called java.lang. The moment I pick the package, if you see the lower half, there is a change. See. Then it will tell you, it will list out all the classes and interfaces of the package java.lang. So java.lang is a package. So that package may consist of lot of interfaces and classes. So they are listed in the lower half. Now from the lower half, you can pick any interface or class. Then you see the right hand side. It gives you the complete summary about the package. It gives us a complete summary about the class or the interface. So what exactly this interface comprises of, and what it got, and what classes, the class description, the methods it got, the variables inside the class, and each and every method description, the significance of it, and sometimes they also tell you how do we use this. So that's the reason I said this is going to play a major role in the life of the Java developers. Now, the good thing, okay, so you have something called java.lang, right? So similarly, we have something called java.util. Now in the java.util, there is something called scanner. So I need that scanner. Creating object of the class scanner. So I will talk about what is object and what do we mean by object later. For time being, just remember this step. If you look at this, the good part with the Eclipse IDE is it will write the code for you. Look at this. Scanner, I just typed a couple of characters, then I did control space bar. It gives you the help. When I pick it up, you observe here. After your package statement, there is something called import statement. So this scanner belongs to java.util. So you need to import that library into the current program. So you are importing the file scanner from the util package into the current program. Then we are just creating object, and this is how we create object. And who is helping us in creating object? New is a keyword and helps us in allocation of memory, or you can say allocation of memory or creation of object. Then what is system.in? The system.in represents keyboard. So what exactly now significance of scanner? Now your scanner is able to read the data from the keyboard. So let's see how will I do that. Scanner dot next. So using the scanner object, this is the object, this is the class. S capital scanner is a class, and you see immediately following that there is something called a variable type. I call it as an object. So using a scanner object, I am calling a method called next, and that helps me in reading the data from the keyboard. Now if you observe, I try to rerun the application. Earlier it didn't allow me to type something. Now it is allowing me to type, because you are letting it to read something enter from the keyboard. Now after that, I just give a message. Hey, your name is. Simple. So this was all about reading a string or group of characters. Now in case if you want to read a number, what is your SSN? Then you can take anything. You can take an int, but int will have a restriction on the number of digits. Then you can take a long. It allows more digits than the int. Then you can say scanner dot next long. In case if you might have placed it int, it will be scanner dot next int. Similarly, in case if you want to read any floating points, we can use double or you can use float. Float is smaller in comparison to the double. That is, double can store a big range of values, whereas float very less range of values. So name, then you got the security number. So how many data types do we have? Now I spoke about string, I spoke about long, I spoke about the float, I spoke about the int, I spoke about the double. So where do you see the list? You can see the list of Java keywords over here, and you can also see the Java data types here. But you just maintain one, you just either look at the Wikipedia or at least look at the docs.oracle.com. So for everything, you can just look at this. Instead of looking at different places, you can look at the primitive data types here and Java keywords. And you can also just look at this Java history. Yeah. Any questions for me on what I covered so far, or is it all good?
It's great.
Okay. All right. So I would like to stop here. Okay, and we will continue in the next session, which Shiva gonna communicate you on that.
I had one question, Arun.
Yeah.
Yeah, the classes are going to be